Hi, this is Norris from class CPT 310. Professor Lisa Sims is my instructor. This is my presentation for my final assignment for the online food ordering database. In this course, we were tasked with coming up with a database for online food ordering. We initially started with a data model. Following this process helped with the planning phase before building out our tables. It's very helpful to plan out beforehand so that we can decide relationships on paper before coding it. I also found that the PHP MyAdmin application was a lot more user-friendly than MySQL. Another perk of using the application is that allows for configuration via the web browser, which you'll see me navigate through this presentation. Alright, so first off, I'm just going to pull up my database here. As you can see, it's already selected. There's a few tables that I've created going through this process. The first table, let me just extend this out a little so we can see here. So the first table is the customers table that I created. As you can see here, there's a list of customers. It is basically a table format. You can see that the first column is customer ID. Second column is first name, last name, birthday, phone, address, city, state, and points. Through an online food ordering database, I assume that this data would be captured for the customers, especially the points to drive repeat business and to allow the customer to want to continue to make purchase and capture what they have bought so far as a type of point system so they can get rewarded later on. Alright, next we'll pull up structure. So based off the structure, you can see the columns that I mentioned before. You can also see the primary keys. In this particular table, there is only one primary key. There is no foreign keys, as I did not feel that I needed them for this particular table. And another great thing I like about the PHP MyAdmin program is that, or application, is that you can see a quick way or a quick view of the indexes, which you will have your primary and your foreign located in the center part of this screen here. Alright, next I'll go to the employees table here. So here you see I've added quite a few names here, so you can really see how big these tables can become, which can be troublesome to like search for content. If a user wanted to search for a particular name, having to go through this list would be very complicated. I'll show later where you can actually search for names. So in this structure, this one's a little bit more advanced. The employee ID I made as the primary key. That will be a unique identifier for an employee. Some of the foreign keys that I related to that primary key is office ID, which is basically the location that employee works out of, as well as reports to, so that person's direct manager. Alright, so as mentioned before, you can always add people to these tables. There's actually two ways that I felt comfortable with adding people. The first way was either doing a insert where you can manually add people. So you can just create the ID. You can type in first name. I'm going to use mine as an example. Birth date, which you can select here because it is in a date type. I won't embarrass myself by putting my real age, so I'll just let's mark it as 12, which I'm way too young for that, but I'll leave it at that. I'll just make a fake number here, so you can basically see just the benefit of doing via the insert feature, which is a GUI-based feature to use. The GUI feature is actually a lot. I think it's a lot easier for people who aren't as tech savvy as some of the others that can run scripts. But using a script is a lot easier when you have a bulk load that you need to add. Alright, row column. Alright, so we'll go ahead and add that person. Alright, you'll see that this row was inserted successfully. This is basically the SQL version of the GUI. Alright, so if we go to customers now, we'll see that the customer ID 12 was added. Alright, I'm going to show you the SQL version of this to save time. I've automatically, or I've done this before, so if there's any SQL queries or commands that you've ran before, if you go back into that SQL window, you can get autosave query. That will save you some time in pulling that data back. So you can just go ahead and make your edits here and then hit go. Alright, that was successful. Now if you go to customers, you'll see that, hey, there is another entry added here. Harry Potter, Hargroves, Atlanta, Georgia. Alright, so going back to the employees, I've created a trigger so that any updates to this particular table is captured in our table audit, our TBL employee audit table. Right now it's empty, as you can see here. So basically, if an employee was to leave the company and we wanted to remove that employee off this list, but we wanted historical data of that happening, that trigger is capturing that. So triggers is basically a procedural code or a database object that will automatically execute in response to certain events. So in this particular table, I set the events to be insert, update, and delete. You can see the triggers here on this tab. You'll see that it'll basically insert whenever there is an insert of an employee name into this employee's table, that information will be captured into the table employee audit. Alright, so I'm just going to demonstrate that really quick. I'll go ahead and delete Mr. or Mrs. Delman here. Confirm that that is what I want to do. Alright, and now we can see that that person was deleted. We can, of course, go in greater detail of capturing the username and password. I'm sorry, username and or the first name and last name of the employee if you wanted to do that. But this is how basically a trigger works. All right, and one other thing I wanted to bring up is the privileges. The privileges is basically who can access this particular table. I I haven't added any users, so once this, you shared this this database with your employees, so they can, get data from it, pull information that needed from it. You wouldn't necessarily want them to be able to have like edit rights. So you basically create a user account for them and allow them to view it only. This is where you can do that here. And one final thing that I wanted to show here is if you wanted to roll this out somewhere, there is a quick, easy way to export this data. So you'll basically hit on the Export tab. You'll click on Go, and it'll basically create a saved copy of your database. So, for example, if say for some reason I lost my database, or say that the database was completely corrupted, or I had to replace my server due to some act of God or something like that, I could basically come in here, go into import. As you can see, this database is completely empty. There's no tables whatsoever in it. I can go to import here. I can choose the file, select the one that I created or that I exported before. Click on open, select go. And you can see the successes of all those tables and all the content that I added previously being basically imported. Further proof, you can see that all the people that I've added before I imported it is also here. These are my two consumers that I added through this presentation. Alright, and that ends my presentation. I hope that you found this presentation beneficial. Thank you very much for having me in your class. I greatly appreciate learning about SQL and how databases work. Thank you very much.